Hey everybody, welcome back to a show. This is hopefully going to be a new feature here on EGE where me, JDV, joins you every Monday morning to talk about whatever's happened over the weekend and to answer some questions from you guys from the previous week. Okay, so let's get right down to the question. Looking for Truth commented and asked a bunch of questions. I guess it's probably 2 weeks ago now. I put up a piece about the Rode Video Micro. It's a great little microphone for $60 that comes with a shock mount, a dead kitten, kind of a wind muff, and a very cute little cord. In fact, I'm using the cord right now to help record this show. It's a very quality piece of kit for $60. You almost can't beat it. It immediately will upgrade the sound from either your iPhone or from your DSLR or even your Handycam probably, depending on how good of a mic you have. His question was both, is the sound quality going to be better, and should I get the Rode makes two versions of the mic, one that is just for DSLRs and things like iPads. It kind of it's just a mic, and then there's like a little eighth-inch jack that plugs directly into it, and then there's a sliding device that locks it down onto your phone or iPad, or there's a version that connects to your camera via a shock mount, and it does a very good job. To me, if you are only going to use iPads or cell phones, I'd go with that version. It is actually $10 cheaper, probably because it does not need the shock mount or the little curly Q cord. Say that 3 times fast on Monday morning. But if you think you're going to use a camera at all, then I would definitely go with the standard shock mount version of the Rode Micro. As mentioned in that video, there is there's some competition for it. The Movo makes a version of it. It's $20 cheaper, and a lot of people like that mic a lot. It's actually a hotter mic than the Rode Micro, which is not great if you have a GH5 or other Panasonics or other cameras that have really good preamps, because the Rode Micro is almost too hot. But either way, almost any way you look at it, spending $40 or $60 is a heck of a bargain for increasing the sound quality of your videos. Again, I'll link to our last episode of Reanimated. I used the Rode Micro exclusively for that because I knew we had to shoot really super fast, and I knew that I was going to be in tight a lot of times, and I wouldn't have to worry about booming. But it'll give you a real good idea of what that mic can do. I also did an interview at a comic book convention and used it handheld, so there's some flexibility to it. Anyway, I still think it's a 5 out of 5 star type piece of gear. If you are looking to up your game, go and get one of those, and don't think twice about it. You won't regret it. All right, Isatao Jalo, I hope I got that name right, asked what's the difference between zombies and vampires. And I'd say there's a few main differences. The main difference in terms of cultural impact is that vampires have been around for thousands of years in almost every culture. Every culture from China to South America to Europe to Africa all have their kind of versions of vampires, and they are shockingly similar. There are some dissimilarities, like the Chinese vampire often is bound and has to hop and can turn invisible. But they're all bloodsuckers that can kind of turn into animals and turn skinny and go through, keyholes and cracks under the doors and things like that. They're usually relatives. They come up from their graves, and there's a lot of similarity. They're smart. And maybe that's one of the main differences between zombies and vampires. The zombies are usually very stupid, not even animal smart, just below animal intelligence, really. Where vampires are either, at the very least, they're clever, or a lot of times they're portrayed as straight-up geniuses. Another big difference between zombies and vampires traditionally is that zombies rot. Like, as they're exposed to elements and things like that, they'll just kind of fade away, where vampires don't rot, and you can shoot them and they kind of heal. That's either because they're portrayed as essentially corporal ghosts, or kind of like undead Wolverine type characters. Vampires, of course, drink blood, while zombies crave flesh and or brains, depending on what version you go with. It is interesting that as George Romero, who invented the modern day zombie, as his movies progressed, his zombies got smarter and smarter and smarter too. I believe in the last his zombie movie with Dennis Hopper in it, he portrayed them using guns and kind of using strategy to attack this town. So it all depends, I suppose, on who is making the zombie movie. And our show Reanimated, our latest zombie thing, we depict zombies as being virtually indestructible and where they don't rot. That's partially because I just think it makes them a tougher, meaner monster, but also because we can't afford all the blood and guts. On the other hand, sometimes zombies or vampires are portrayed as very stupid, kind of, not much above animal intelligence, kind of the way they are in the movie 30 Days of Night. Those vampires are not portrayed as very smart. And so I guess it depends on who is making the vampire and or zombie movie. So the very fact that vampires have been around longer, much, much longer, is kind of an interesting thing, where zombies have only really been around for about 50 years. Okay, and the last little bit on this segment, it comes from Token Dave, who commented on last week's episode with me and Warpig. We were talking about what spring movies we want to see, and really we just concentrated on the remake of Pet Sematary. Movie companies have been pushing their big summer releases earlier and earlier and earlier, ever since The Matrix and The Mummy both came out in 1999. I think both of those movies came out in April. And that, ever since then, movie companies have pushed the traditional Memorial Day weekend. That's when we start summer. They keep edging that up. So there really isn't the what you would call spring, either by weather or by what movie companies say, is changing. Indeed, Captain Marvel coming out when it did 3 weeks ago, well, that's it's a summer blockbuster. I mean, in many ways, it's a huge movie. $800 million, probably going to take home, gross worldwide. So that's why we only talked about those two movies. But he did bring up three that you could probably consider spring movies just based on when they're released: the new Godzilla movie, the Hellboy remake, and John Wick 3. Of those three movies, I'm most interested in seeing John Wick 3. I think Keanu Reeves has become the preeminent action star, probably of his generation, other than maybe Tom Cruise. And it's an interesting series. I thought the second John Wick was a letdown from the first one. It stumbled. I'm not sure why it didn't work, but to me, it didn't work as well as the first one. But everything I can see from the trailers of John Wick 3, it looks just fantastic, and I think it's going to be a big hit. The Godzilla movies, I'm always wary of. That last Godzilla movie, I was very disappointed in. It had a great trailer, and the movie itself was just pretty terrible. And I do like my giant monster movies. I love Cloverfield. I think that's one of the fantastic movies ever made. I love the original Godzilla. I like it when they get it right. But giant monster movies are not, I guess they're not as easy to get right as you think, especially because the Godzilla producers have got to placate all, the 50, 60 years of, well, longer than that, maybe almost 70 years now worth of Godzilla fans who are kind of like Star Trek or Star Wars fans, where they're very particular about the details and getting it all right. So it will be interesting to see. I am interested in the film. I'm just probably not going to go see it in a movie theater unless everyone says it's fantastic. Last up on the kind of spring movie that he brought up that I have an interest in at all would be the Hellboy reboot. The trailers have looked fantastic. I'll say that right off the bat. They look very good. It's just not a character I'm personally very interested in. I've read the comic books, and they're okay. It's just not a character that really sings to me. I thought Guillermo del Toro's version of it was okay with Ron Perlman. Of course, Ron Perlman is already a superhero / villain, just walking around in street clothes. So that wasn't a real stretch for him to play Hellboy. There's much more CG in this, of course, than the last one. So it'll be interesting to see if audiences cotton to it. I think it'll be an indication of whether or not we as a culture still want to have our superhero movies and villains, but of course, according to Captain Marvel, we must. Okay, so that's about wraps it up for this Monday. Thanks for joining us. If you like this idea of us having Monday kind of morning content where we talk about, your questions about movie making and such and what happened over the weekend. Please comment down below. Let us know if there's something else we can do for this show. I'm going to try to have it at least up every Monday, maybe every other Monday, but we're going to shoot for every Monday. If there's any questions you have, please feel free to ask. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification button. Love each other, and I'll see you next time. Mwah! Mondays suck. Mondays suck. Boom, boom, boom. Mondays suck. They suck. Be sure to visit EvilGeniusEntertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.